Thanks for joining me. This is Danny and welcome back to my Real Tech series. Today we are going to be continuing to do some building on our rail network. In the last episode, we created our train stations. We did one here at our base and we did two in the two villages where we have stops along the way on our track. Today we're going to be concentrating on making the track look nice. So we're going to be building some bridges that look a little nicer than just a string of bricks. And we're also going to be making our tunnels look interesting and stuff like that, so that by the end we're going to have a kind of somewhat sort of realistic looking train network. For the bridges, I plan on replacing these blocks with a different block, and what I'm thinking of is something similar to what I have over here, using the platforms mod, because I think that makes a really nice looking train bridge. I'm not sure if I'm going to go with these same materials. We may do some different materials. This is clay and oak wood. I do think that looks good here, but maybe for a longer bridge we might want to use materials that look a little bit more sturdy. And then we're going to have supports kind of similar to this at intervals along the way, though they're going to be much larger, and again probably something that looks a little bit more sturdy than just a poured concrete. Probably bricks, actually, maybe even the same block right here. And then in the center, probably somewhere in the center, we're going to have two of the supports much further apart, and then have something that looks kind of like a suspension, like supports going up, over, and then down. Now, I've run into a couple problems in my testing. I was hoping to use the undercutter cart from Rail. The undercutter cart allows us to replace the blocks under the track. So if we wanted to go through and replace all of these blocks with a different block, we would just put those blocks in the undercutter cart and it goes down the line and it replaces them. Nice, right? Unfortunately, it doesn't work with platforms, so we're going to have to use a different solution. And so in my testing, I thought, okay, well, how about we just use the swapping wand from Not Enough Wands? Well, apparently the swapping wand is all kinds of bugged out when you try to use it with carpenter block or with the platforms. So we're gonna have to do it manually. We have some really long bridges, and to have to break all these bridges and rebuild them is going to be a lot of work, but I think it's gonna be worth it. So that's what we're going to do. I have in my inventory a whole ton of dirt, because now one of the problems is that because we have tough as nails installed, we can't just spend all day in the water breaking blocks, because we'll get really, really cold. And then plus there's the problem of breaking blocks and then having them fall into the water, and yeah, we don't want that either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my boat and I'm going to place dirt blocks underneath. Oops. I'm going to place dirt blocks underneath this entire rail line, or this entire bridge. and then we're going to break the blocks on top, and then and the majority of them should end up falling onto the dirt blocks. So that's what I'm gonna do. Well, I made a big mess trying all these different platforms, and these aren't platforms, these are actually chiseled, because the platforms mod wouldn't take the materials that I wanted. But I just couldn't come up with anything that looked nice. And I even came up with some of my own designs that had like crisscross patterns and other things, and none of them looked as good as the platform. So then I ended up trying to make the platform. So this is actually exactly identical to the platforms that I'm using over here, but with different materials. But I don't know, I just wasn't real happy with how it turned out. I think I finally have a pattern I want. So this is a mix of 3 different blocks. We've got spruce bark on the top. We have factory blocks in the middle. This is the large hexagonal one. It's normally a connected texture, but in this case, obviously, it's not going to connect because we're chiseling it. And then the cyan clay on the sides. I think I like that a little bit better. There, that looks much better. Nice. Now we just have to give it some support so it doesn't look like it's just hanging there. I'm going to use the swapping wand, that way I don't have to pick up the rail. There we go. The only problem is I'm going to end up with a bunch of these chiseled blocks in my inventory, and sometimes they don't always stack, so we'll see. We'll see how that works. So I've got architecture blocks, arches here to make it look like it's being supported by an arch. Okay, and then I'm going to have bricks going all the way down to the bottom, so let's hope I don't freeze or drown, because it is winter. What the? Okay. So it's not very deep. Oh, it is pretty deep here. Crap. Oh, it's really hard to see underwater. There we go. I've got 3 on each side, actually, and they're all about 12 blocks apart. So what I'm going to do, there's a really long stretch in the middle here where there are no supports, and that is where we're going to have kind of an archway sort of thing, and that is the wrong way. Darn it. There we go. So I'm going to do that on the 2 middle ones on both sides. By the way, I'm wearing my wool suit right now because it's cold. It's cold out here in the water, especially since I've been jumping in the water a lot. I added one more support because they were just too far away, and I would have had to make a really, really large support thing, and it wouldn't have looked right. So I'm using cyan clay to kind of look like metal. It's like the closest thing that I can get that will actually look smooth. I was thinking about factory blocks. Of course, I can't use like blocks of metal, like actual metal, because they'll have seams at every intersection. This looks like just a smooth, long, like beam, metal beam. On a real train bridge, they're usually going to come on a slant. They're going to kind of zigzag their way across. I don't know if I want to do that because it probably won't look that great because of the whole jaggedness of chisels and bits. So I might just have a few beams going up every little while. If I do later decide that I want to go with a different material for this support part of the bridge, I can just use negative chisel designs and replace them all. Oh, I'm gonna run out like right as I'm placing the. I am. Look at that. Darn it. I only have 1 post left and I ran out of cyan clay. So now I have to make 8 more blocks of cyan clay. Ow, I bumped my head. Here it looks so much nicer than it did before. Look at that. Okay, so I have to place one of those, and then I'm going to go to replace mode, and then I go back to placement, and ta-da, we're all done. This bridge is done. This bridge was going to be the most difficult part of this whole project, I thought, because I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make this long bridge look like realistic, you know, like it's actually being supported, but I think this totally works. One thing I forgot is to make it actually look like it's supporting the because this part of the bridge is really here to support the long stretch of track in between the supports where there's no supports here. So I need to have it kind of look like it's connecting to that as well. So that's there. That's better. So wherever we have these things coming down, they're going to be supporting the track. There. We might actually want to do something else there too and have this beam go all the way through it. So if we go down there and do additive, it'll add that beam, but it'll keep everything else. Nice. Okay. I like that idea. I'm going to clear away this, and we're going to put this hill back a little bit, and that's all we're going to do here. And we're going to change some of the blocks, because it doesn't make sense to have sand underneath a rail bed. I'm making the undercutter cart. We will be using this at some point. You can see it's a little bit expensive, but as we will see, it is quite useful. We're going to be using it mostly in the ground areas. I'm out here in this little stretch of meadow just to try out some different track underlayments. I've got my undercutter cart right here. I'm just using a vanilla mine cart, which actually travels quite fast on these high-speed tracks. So we don't really need a locomotive if we want to go pretty fast. Okay, so I'm just going to link these two together, and I'm going to try. I've got 4 different things I want to try. Of course, there's gravel, right? So I'm going to try gravel and see how that goes. Why is it not? Oh, because I need to give it gravel. Okay, so that tells it what we're going to give it. We can tell it what we want it to replace. So I could say only put gravel where we have grass and not where we have like something else. And then here is the inventory, so we give it there. Oh, I should probably put a chest cart on this thing. So we can see what that looks like. That looks decent. I mean, it's gravel under a rail bed. That's kind of something you would expect to see. But I just wanted to see how some of these other things. That thing just ate my gravel. I think I found a bug in the undercutter cart. This inventory. Oh, there it is. Okay. I wonder where it went. This inventory will only hold what you tell it can go there. Like if I try to put these in there, it won't hold them. If I try to put those in there, it won't hold them. So if you have something in there, and let's make it so there's only one, because I don't trust it, and then you tell it we don't want to do that, yeah, so it just throws it out. Okay. So what was I doing? I was doing cracked bricks. So let's just try this. Alright, so now we'll come back. And then compare. So that actually looks pretty good too. Compared to gravel. I could actually see having a mix of these. You can barely tell the difference under the track. And then the other thing I wanted to try, there's actually 2 more things. I want to try trodden bricks and zag, which looks similar to trodden bricks, except it's got kind of a pattern on it. I'm going to do a mix of gravel and the probably either the trodden or the zag, or I might just do a mix of all 3. And probably more gravel. You can see how fast this thing will go through here. Especially if I... See, that is really fast. For just a regular old minecart, wow. There, I've got a chest cart back there now. So now it's not just throwing stuff everywhere. Yeah, that looks much better. I have this chest over here filled with all the materials that I'm going to be using, and I have one of each in my inventory, a gravel and a cobblestone. And I have lots of them in there. So now all I have to do is go like that, and it's going to place cobblestone, or it's going to place gravel, because it's going to grab it from the chest, and if I want to switch, all I have to do is go like that, and then it'll grab cobblestone instead. In fact, you just heard it replace that gravel with a cobblestone, and vice versa. Looks like I'm going to be camping out here for a while. I've got 2 bridges to work on. I did manage to get the underlayer done throughout the track system, like all the way to the other village. We'll do a flyover later to kind of take a look at it, or ride through and everything. It wasn't very exciting to do, so I just did it off camera. I'm just going to replace... yeah, there we go. Oh, what fell in the water there? Weird. Okay. That's the wrong direction, though. There we go. So I'm going to replace these like this. No, that's still the wrong... Oh, no, it isn't the wrong direction. I just don't have enough cyan. Okay. Oh, what? Darn it. Oh, well, whatever. So I'm going to do same material, and it'll grab the whole block. There we go. Almost exactly the same as the one at home, except much, well, not, I don't know about much, but it's shorter. There is a stretch in the middle that's a little longer, and I'm probably going to have some supports, some archway support there, just like we have at the bridge near base. But first I'm going to start working on this one. I also extended the bridge so that there's no hill between the so there's no hill along the high-speed rails. So it goes high speed all the way until over here, then it slows down. But I have to pick up some more tracks at home. Oh, and we don't need this lever here anymore. I may do something similar over there. I may extend that there so that we can get rid of that little hill that goes down and then back up again. And then, so I've got the arches over here where the stretches are that long. There's actually 11 blocks in between each of those. Here there's only 6 blocks, so we don't have the arches because we have a foundation right there. These 2 are nearly done. That one is done. Because it's shorter and the water isn't really deep, I was able to put enough supports in it where we shouldn't need an arch. This one should probably have an arch, just so that it looks more like it's being supported. Now, to create these bridges, basically what I did is I replaced the stone bricks using chisels and bits, which means I ended up with a ton of stone bricks, stone brick bits, which I'm not really using anything other than for... I used them to replace these things when I decided where I was going to put the support. So that worked out pretty nicely. But I've also been placing them. So all I have to do is make a pattern out of it. And then... You've probably seen me do this before, and then we go to placement, and then I can just place these all until the bits are gone. Or at least until there's less than a block worth of bits. Yeah, I don't know how that happens, but somehow we have 276 left. And now they're just regular blocks that will stack with all my other stone bricks. Actually, I know how that happened. My bit bag got full while I was putting those up, and one of the stone bricks ended up exploding and falling into the water. All the bits fell in the water. I mean like the bits went flying everywhere. That's what I mean by explode, not like literally explode. But so now I have to go back to the base and get a couple of tracks, and then we're gonna get started on our first tunnel. So rather than making a bunch of different chisel designs, I used my one chisel design to create one of each of the different things, of the different patterns. So hopefully I'll be able to use this to rebuild this bridge over here, or to replicate this same bridge over here. There. And the final touches, and then we're ready to move on to our cave. or our tunnel. Nice. Oh, and I did make a little house or a little building. This is the rail workers building, you know, for the construction workers, so they have a place to, you know, take shelter and store all their materials and such. A very basic build, but something to just give the landscape a little bit of something of interest, I guess. The last thing we have to do is decorate the tunnels. So I've got all my stuff over here, my architect's bench, and I'm probably going to go with a fairly traditional looking tunnel with arch. Of course, you know, every train tunnel is an arch. So of course we're going to do an arch. And I'm thinking that we're going to do some cobblestone variation. So let's see what we got. Probably some kind of a brick, maybe a small brick. Let's try arrayed bricks. I have a feeling that architecture craft is going to mess up this pattern, but let's see. Let's try this one first. Yeah, it does mess up the pattern. But it actually still doesn't look too bad. Especially if we just do those small. But, oh boy. Yeah, it makes it so much smaller. Yeah. You know what? I think that's going to be okay. I think that's going to be okay. I'm thinking we're just going to do bricks on the edges, and then the inside is going to be like a more solid looking block, like maybe concrete or something like that. I think this works. And yes, I do realize it's not symmetrical. That is intentional because these are holding back the dirt, so it has to go with the landscape, with the natural landscape. I'm using concrete from Immersive Engineering in here, and I'm keeping the cobblestone running along the bottom. I kind of like the way that looks. I also tried hempcrete. I wasn't as crazy about that, so we're gonna stick with concrete tile. So that's just concrete from Immersive Engineering, which is this, and I actually have a crafting frame for this at home, so it was easy for me to make all that. So we could try the concrete. Oh no, that's hempcrete. Oh, actually, I kind of like that in a way, sort of, maybe. That's hempcrete. There. We made it all the way through. I've got the hempcrete on the top. I think that looks okay. And then I recessed, I made that arch higher wherever we had the lanterns, so that they're not hanging down in our faces so much. Yeah, I think that works. It has kind of a realistic look. It's not like overly decorative or anything. It just looks like a real train bridge, I think. I did actually swap some of these out for regular concrete rather than the concrete tiles. Some of these too. Yeah, right there. Just to give it kind of a worn look a little bit. I actually did by accident at first. I forgot to turn them into concrete tiles, and I was kind of like, hey, that actually looks kind of okay. This needs to be different. I'm going to widen this so that it's 3 blocks wide. And here, we're going to do that, what we have in the end. So, oops. Oh boy. And then that and that. And then that. And that. Yeah. There, I like that a little better. It opens it up a little more, and it just makes more sense instead of having that light kind of hidden in a small little thing. And it looks better supported now too. Yeah. And it makes the tunnel look a little bit more interesting than just a long thing of the same blocks. Cool. This one's going to be a little trickier because it's like this. I think we might do like half a tunnel over here. This turned out to be a really interesting stretch of track. We've got 2 tunnels and we've got kind of a thing hanging on the side of the mountain there. Let's get out and look on the inside. So it's similar to the other tunnel, except I've got like the windows, and I have this thing, which is the same as the other ones. And they're not exactly windows; they're just areas where it's open. All done with this stretch. That was a lot of work. Wow. Got 2 tunnels, 2 unusual tunnels, and then 2 long bridges. And I had to go underwater in the freezing cold, so I'm a little cold right now, as you can see. And as we get further and further away from the base, every time I have to go get materials, it takes longer and longer and longer. Oh, look at that, how it connects like that. Cool. Alright, let's take a look at this. Whew, the winter's getting a little harsh out there. As I head further north, it's getting colder and colder because I'm heading into the taiga. So I'm going to head home. I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to get some more resources. We are just starting with winter. We haven't even gotten to the coldest part of winter yet. In order to kind of wait out the winter, I have a little project that I want to work on. I've got my quarry up and running again. My Steve's Carts quarry, but I'm running into problems because it's going out of the chunk loading range, the range of my chunk loader now, because I've expanded. So I'd like to get this chunk loader made for Steve's Carts. This thing is really expensive, but I think we can handle it. As you can see, it's an ender pearl. It's a bunch of PCBs, which aren't too expensive, but we need some of this reinforced metal, which we haven't started doing at all yet. All the playing up that we've done with Steve's Carts, we haven't done reinforced metal yet, and that's quite expensive. To make an ingot of reinforced metal, we need a stabilized metal. To make 5 ingots of stabilized metal, we're going to need this. 3 refined hardeners, some iron, and then this hardened mesh, and then 4 refined hardeners. So a total of 7 refined hardeners. Each refined hardener is a diamond and 4 obsidian. I'm sorry, that makes 2. So we're going to have to do 4 sets of these. So we need 4 diamonds and 16 obsidian. Actually, you know what? That isn't really all that bad. Except that we only have 7 obsidian, but whatever. I will go mining for obsidian. There we go. 8 raw hardeners. I'll put 4 up here and 4 down there to make it go fast. And even though I'm going to end up wasting a little bit of coal, but that's fine. We got plenty of coal. Wait, that goes up there. Okay. While we're doing that, I'm going to make a bunch of PCBs. Now this guy requires 1 advanced and 2 simple. That's going to be 4 simple PCBs. However, we're also going to have to make a modification or a cart modifier. So we're going to need 2 more simple and 1 more advanced. So we're going to end up. Oh, and wait, what? Oh, and we need more reinforced metals. The ice is melting and spring is here. Spring is here at last. Our cart is still being crafted, but I'm just gonna let that go. We have no immediate urgent need for it. Oh, I did this. I think I may have done this off camera. I did this area similar to how the tunnels are, but it's just kind of a retaining wall. Whew, it is still really cold here. I guess we're still in early spring, so that would make sense. But in the Taiga Hills especially, my thermometer was all the way down, and I was starting to get hypothermia. No, hypothermia. So I'm wearing my wool. I'm wearing my wool suit, and I did enchant it earlier, so it's got a little bit more protection. Well, I protected this one. I enchanted the jacket. But it's now time to move on to our next tunnel. Hooray. And I think it's our final tunnel, but oops. But it's a doozy. It's a big one. I think this is our longest tunnel yet. And then we have this, which we'll probably just cover up, actually. The light at the end of the tunnel. This is a chiseled fluid bit tank. This allows us to make chiseled water or fluids of any kind. You set the thing down and you right click on it with a bucket of water, and then you right click on it with your chisel to get the water into bits. So I now have 4,096 bits of water. And now take my water bits and place them. Dark night at the end of the tunnel. This tunnel's done. I gave the interior of this tunnel a little bit more of a worn look, as you can see. And I added some flowing water through a crack in the wall between these two joints. Because remember, this is where that that little cave was. Oh crap! Give me that back. The little cave was with the water. So yeah, the water's kind of seeping through the walls here. That's our last tunnel. I think we're done. I'm going to do a final walkthrough, and then we are going to take a ride. And maybe even do a little flyover to get an overview. Part of the track is a little messed up, and I'm not sure what to do here. We could make this into like a bridge, but I think I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to I have a bunch of these arches left over, so I may as well just use them up. And just put an arch every once in a while to make it look like it's, you know, like there's some support there. Crap, it's dark out here. It's a good thing I have this sleeping bag. Before we go on our final ride, our cart is done. Hooray! And this thing used a lot. I actually added 2 stacks in here, so it used almost a full hopper's worth of charcoal. So we now have, actually let's take a look at this guy. Modular cart with a reinforced hull, coal engine, basic drill. Actually, we might want to grab a diamond so that we can repair that drill. So it's the same as the other one we had, except it now has a reinforced hull and a chunk loader, as you can see way down on the bottom. So we no longer have to try to keep all the chunks loaded that this thing might potentially mine, which was a lot of chunks. I'm using the module toggler to turn on chunk loading when it goes that way, and then it can turn it off when it goes that way. Doesn't really matter all that much. But we're already loading these chunks over here, so we might as well turn the chunk loader off when we go that way. And then that way I know for sure that the chunk loader is going to be enabled when it heads in that direction. Because it doesn't seem clear with that the GUI is letting me enable it. So I think we're ready to go here. We're ready to launch our brand new cart. Yay! We've got our engine filled, we've got our railer filled with 3 stacks of tracks, so it can go quite far, which is why we want it to load chunks. We've got our andesite for building bridges, and we've got our torches. We're at height 11, and I'm going to stand on this side of it just to make sure it doesn't go that way, because I want it to go, let's see, is the track, yeah. Because we don't need to go through here for any reason. So there we go. Whoa, holy fastness. That is a fast cart. Let's do a quick flyover so that we can see what this all looks like from above. So here's our bridge. How it looks like from over here. I love it. I really love this bridge. Just this whole network. I love rail networks. They're so much fun. So one of the things I really like about this pack is that rails actually make sense in this pack. Like, we can play with rails, and we don't have some other we don't have some other really easy, cheap way to fly around or whatever. And the high-speed rail is actually the fastest way to get around. This thing is almost as fast, but not quite. The high-speed rail is actually a little faster. So as long as there's a rail network going directly where you're going, the fastest way to get there is on the rail. I really like the way the tunnels, especially this one, I like the way it looks from out here. Nice. And then this bridge we saw already. I built this bridge when I first made the railway. I actually made it like this. I don't think I've changed anything in this episode. This episode, by the way, spanned over a week. This was over a week of work. The ice is still melting. And this is where we added those supports, which we kind of already looked at from above. These are pretty cool too. This one I really like. I like the way the bridge goes into the tunnel. And it's kind of just hanging on the side of that hill like that. And then it's a little bit rough here. This is our roughest one, because it's kind of, we've got a rough edge there, and then there's a lot more wear and tear in the bridge. And that's it. And then it's just the rest is just the remaining stretch to the final village. I'm going to run through the route one more time, and this time we're going to do it in high speed and hope that we don't blow up, which is definitely a possibility, and it will really suck if it happens, but whatever, we'll survive. Here we go. And I'm going to try to get some cinematics up for you too. Whee! I love going through these at high speed. That is so awesome. Slowing down, going around the corner. Nice. There's our little worker's house. Slow us down. Whoa. And then it's gonna speed us up. Tunnel. Oh wow, that's so cool. That's so cool speeding through those tunnels. Oh, I love it. Can fill up with water, even though we don't really need it at the moment. But the crops are dead here. Skip eggs. There's a lot of hills on this trek. Whoa. Let's get the speed through here. Uh oh, look out, chicken. Look out. Slow down. Oh wow, this is so cool. I love this. Whoa, we went down that too fast. Nice. Our last fast stretch. And That's it. That's the whole network. Nice. Well, I'm gonna go around one more time, just so I can get back home. So I do hope you enjoyed this. Of course, if you do have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I do read all my comments, and I usually reply to them all as well. And of course, if you did enjoy this, don't forget to click the like button, and to join me next time when... I don't know what we're going to do next time in the series. I have a few ideas in my head. And I'll try to get you guys a world download too very soon. So you can check out the description below and see if there's a link. If there isn't, remind me, and I'll get one for you. So I do hope you join me next time. Thanks for watching.